Hi, my name is Heather White. I am a volunteer with Save the River. Today's story time will be My Little Book of Wood Ducks, written by Irvin Marston. It's fun to think about the aquatic birds that live in our area and the distinct markings on their feathers, their faces, and their backs, and how those markings help us to identify the birds. Here is a wood duck, a mallard, and a goose. It's very important as a scientist to make visual observations of the animals you're studying. And after today's story time, we'll also talk about how important it is to use your sense of hearing when identifying nature's creatures. Wood ducks, to me, are one of the most beautiful ducks along the St. Lawrence River. The males have iridescent chestnut feathers with green detailed patterns, and the female has a distinct white pattern around her eye. Their habitats include the river, lakes, streams, always near a wooded area. The trees are really important to the wood ducks because they build their nests high in a tree. It can be up to 50 feet high in that tree. They use a hole that is already there. The female then carries in some needles and even uses her own chest feathers to make the nest area within that tree warm and comfortable for her eggs. They lay between 6 and 16 eggs that incubate for about 37 days before they begin to hatch. The ducklings, once hatched, may stay in that tree cavity hole for only a few hours before they make their first leap out of the tree down to the forest floor below, scrambling into the water where their mother waits for them. Now, the young ducklings do have special sharp claws on their feet that help them get back up into the nest. They immediately begin to get taught to find their food, and their foods can include seeds, insects, water plants like duckweed and water lilies. And if they're lucky, as they're going back towards their tree, there will be acorns along the ground. They've been known to feast on acorns as well. Now let's enjoy today's story, My Little Book of Wood Ducks. My Little Book of Wood Ducks, written by Irvin Marston. The wood ducks flitted in and out of the treetops at the edge of the forest. They were searching for a safe place to make their nest. Swish! The female landed on a branch. She squeezed into a rotten woodpecker hole in a big oak tree. A gray squirrel that had once lived there had left a bed of leaves. The wood duck sat down and turned around. The nest was just right. She stretched and fluffed her feathers. As she preened herself, a few downy feathers fell out. The duck settled in her new home. Each day, for 9 days, the mother wood duck laid one whitish egg in her nest. She covered the eggs with soft feathers to keep them warm when she and her mate were away, and to hide them from hungry snakes. One day, the wood duck heard a strange sound. Scratch, 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 scratch. Something was climbing up her tree. She made sure her eggs were safely tucked beneath her. Then she peeked out. A raccoon was crawling up the trunk looking for lunch. When he saw her, he backed down. The next day, the wood ducks were feeding in the pond. The raccoon climbed the tree again. He slipped away when he could not reach the eggs. The mother duck sat on her nest for 28 days. Inside the eggs, the ducklings began to grow. Their mother listened for sounds from the shells. When she got hungry, she covered her eggs with down. Then she flew to the pond to catch tadpoles, insects, and minnows with her mate. On the 30th day, she heard a new sound. Beep, beep! The first egg had hatched. Her waiting was over. One by one, the tiny wood ducks pipped their way out of their shells. Soon, 9 ducklings crowded the nest. Their mother kept them warm. In a few hours, the lively little babies were covered with fluffy down. The mother duck flew down to the ground. Tick, 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 she called softly. Tick, tick, tick. Her babies heard her. With their tiny claws, they scrambled up to the opening of their nest. Then they threw themselves out and dropped to the ground. Their soft, downy coats kept them from getting hurt. The 9 little ducks trailed single file after their mother to the pond. Suddenly, a dark cloud appeared above them. It was a hawk. Ho-eek! Ho-eek! Cried the mother duck. She and her babies scurried under cover to hide. Later, the wood ducks hurried her ducklings to the water. Cook, 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 she called as she slid in. The ducklings waded in and swam after her. From now on, they would live on the pond. The mother duck began teaching her babies how to catch insects and tadpoles and minnows. Ho-eek! Ho-eek! The mother duck called. A snapping turtle was swimming toward the ducklings. Splash! 9 tiny ducklings dived and scattered. The turtle could not catch them. When it was safe, the ducklings paddled back to their mother. All morning they explored their new home. Later, the mother duck led them to the shore to rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then the ducklings tucked their heads under their wings and went to sleep. When they awakened, they were hungry. They pecked at the acorns and beech nuts on the ground. Then they scooted back to the water. Ho-eek! Ho-eek! A muskrat was heading towards the ducklings. They swam to shore and hid in the undergrowth. Soon they would lose their baby feathers and grow flying feathers. One day, they would fly away to build nests and start their own families. But for now, they snuggle against their mother and go to sleep. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Remember at the beginning, we looked at these aquatic birds. And we thought about how scientists use their sense of sight to identify animals in the outdoors. Now I have another challenge for you. Go outside and just listen. I hear a Canada goose in the background. I hear a chickadee. It might be fun for you to take a clipboard or a chunk of cardboard, piece of paper and a pencil, Go stand outside. Just close your eyes and listen. I think I just heard a woodpecker. Did you hear that? Try to draw or write a list of all the animals that you hear. Scientists use all their senses when they're out in the field doing their work, identifying creatures in the area. See how many creatures you can identify by listening in your schoolyard or your backyard or when you're out taking a hike. I hope you have fun with that. There are so many more books and ideas if you visit Save the River at www.savetheriver.org.